the Innermost Podcast, where we explore, acknowledge, set right, and show gratitude for our deepest, most private, inward thoughts, emotions, and experiences. As always, you can write to the show anonymously and share your thoughts, experiences, and or a story that you would like to share on the podcast. I'm your host, K-Joy, and welcome to the Innermost. It is November the 4th. It's Monday morning. It's about 8:52 a.m. I had intended to record it a little over an hour ago, but I received a call from my oldest brother, and he and I always have very lengthy conversations. Always enjoy our conversations. It's pretty cool because I don't know. It's something about, like, you know, it's almost like I don't want to say coming of age, but my brother is about 8.5 years older than me. So we always are able to always have these deep life conversations about, just realizations that we've had when it comes to marriage and raising kids and our faith and our upbringing and culture. And I mean, our conversations can be a podcast itself. And honestly, I always appreciate relationships where I can, like, this is who I am as a person, right? Like, these are literally, I live, or I try to authentically live in the innermost. It can get very annoying. I can imagine sometimes for people who maybe they don't know me, or maybe they just don't feel like, always having those deep conversations all the time. But I've kind of, like, I'm around people, and I have to give, I guess, credit to my household and my family. We're very conscious thinkers, and we have very deep conversations. And now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, it's probably attributed a lot to my character of just always taking a deep dive in the reason why I feel like the doctorate program that I'm in is a good fit for me, because honestly, I was intimidated by the whole idea of it, but the space that it puts me in, mentally, intellectually, emotionally, more than socially. Social is probably the least aspect that I enjoy. Well, I won't say enjoy, but acknowledge about the experience, is that I'm able to play in the field that I love to play, which is the thinking, the mind, and so I always enjoy our conversations. We're always just, thinking deeply about things, or just conversating, and that's always cool to hear his experiences and perspective and on things, and we just kind of share and learn from each other, and it's always nice. So it's 8:55 now. It took me 3 minutes to express that. It is a Monday morning. We're just coming off of, wow, what an incredible few days. Let's see. Time changed yesterday, fall back, so we put our clocks back an hour, and that was interesting because I was just like, oh, I'm up early. I'm thinking I'm all up early looking at my clock, when really the time I didn't have an idea that time was pushed back. So it was a nice morning yesterday. I was able to hop in a hot tub, and actually my husband and I, we went to Starbucks. Did we go to Starbucks yesterday? Yeah, we went to Starbucks, and he went and got we went to get the boys donuts together, and it was a nice I love gloomy fall weather. It's a little bit of drizzle, and then I still had the time to come home, get in the hot tub, and then still had time to go to church yesterday, and then came home to work on some assignments. So I love an extended morning like that. It's just been nice. Let's see. We had Halloween. Now, in my experience, like growing up, I'm a PK. I think I mentioned that before. We didn't celebrate Halloween like that growing up. We would go to Harvest Fest and things like that. when I was growing up. And so I went trick-or-treating one time as a kid, and that's because one of my really good friends at the time had begged her mom to beg my mom to allow me to go, and I went, and that was an experience. I can remember being very timid and scared and not really, being familiar with all of the things that kind of came with trick-or-treating. And now, like with our own kids, I'm very much in love with my faith and have a good balance on spirituality and always learning and growing and profess my love for my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But it's interesting because I came to this crossroad in my life of being a mother. I can remember when my son came to me, he had this teacher who was like in love with Harry Potter or whatever. And it's funny, I just went into telling this story, and he came home and he was like, Mom, can I read, Harry Potter? And all I know is growing up, Harry Potter was demonized. And so I wasn't allowed to watch or read Harry Potter or anything that had to do with like fantasy or magic and things like that. And so I remember he came to me and he said to me like, well, can you he was asking, can he read it and stuff? And he was kind of explaining. And I said, well, let me check it out and then I'll let you know, because I was unsure, and this was probably maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. And I didn't want to give an easy answer, which was, the easy answer would be what I knew about it, which is the way I was raised, a hard no. I wanted to take responsibility as a parent and really serve my sons and I relationship and do due diligence to check it out. Because I feel like at some point, like just looking back, people are going to venture into their beliefs and what they're going to do regardless of how they're raised or things like that. So my philosophy is I want to lead with love and understanding. My goal is to lead, and let prayer drive, those undercurrents that I can't control, and as a parent. And so I watched Harry Potter, and boy, I was a fan, and I was so jealous and I was so upset that I hadn't come to it sooner. And let me tell you something. What happened actually to me was I gained more spiritual clarity, because what came to my mind was I said, I'll be darn. I probably said I'll be damn, but I'll be darn, because I'm like, the whole time, we're taught to fear these things in these shows as if they're going to overtake us. What the interesting thing is, the Bible says that nothing can separate you from the love of God. Like once you are marked and stamped and you belong to Him, demons tremble at the sound of His name, and they certainly know who you belong to. It's like me and my brother was talking, and he said something very true, is that Satan can only be Satan because God allows him to be. The Lord is in control. And so I watched Harry Potter and I gained so much clarity on the spiritual, and I was like, it's a shame that even the world understands the spiritual realm, and here it is, as Christians we fear it and we run from it and we try to shut it out. And I think that I just went into a whole another space now. I just ventured off into a whole nother area, but it's all relatable. We have become so fearful of information and trying to shut the world out and shield ourselves until we become so disconnected till we can't even reach the world where the world is at, and we're supposed to be the light of the world. And here it is, we scared, we hide, and we run because of fear that what the world does will overtake us. Well, the fact of the matter is, if you are truly of the faith and your faith is truly strong, you can't be overtaken by anything. That doesn't mean that, you go play in areas and fields of trouble and touch fire. But what I'm saying is, if you solid in who you are, you can shine bright like a diamond. And so going back to the Harry Potter thing, man, I watched that and I was like, man, this is so eye-opening. Like, this is like spiritual warfare on full blown display. And I had lived for so many years in fear. I was taught to like run from this and run from that and not, have my eye gates or ear gates open to this and that. And it creates this environment of being petrified where you can't even function and live in the world. I remember being so depressed at some point, and I always just remember just being on that bathroom floor and just crying out to the Lord, like, I cannot live like this. Like, this is the lowest of the low that I can ever reach. And if I don't come up from here, the only thing before me is death. I remember that. I remember that thought. I remember those emotions, as if it was yesterday. And the Lord lifted me and has been lifting me in my mind, my psyche, my understanding ever since. And I'm telling you, so much has changed in my life. And I'm not trying to attribute it to Harry Potter. My point is that, the things that we fear sometimes are the very things that can open doors and open our eyes to our reality and solidify our faith even more, and it's funny because I'm like, I wish I had, maybe the timing was right and it was perfect, in my mind, I'm like, I wish I had known this sooner, but I guess you can trust the timing was right and perfect. And that kind of brings me to a heavy emotion that I wouldn't even say emotion, just thought that I had this morning is that, tomorrow is election day, and it's the last day to cast your vote, and so many people are just emotionally charged, and I just don't understand how people are associating their vote for Trump with Jesus being Lord. Like, I'm trying to wrap my mind around this idea that some people like are saying, I voted for Trump, Jesus is Lord. And I don't know. And mind you, if you listen to my podcast, I have not promoted either part or either candidate, right? I'm not politically charged or emotionally driven or emotionally charged in that way. What I'm seeing is that the association that is coming with Trump is Jesus is Lord. And as a believer, as a PK, as a person who has been disgusted by my own constituents, if you will, with the way that we go about expressing our love or expressing our belief, this is challenging for me. It's disgusting because, one, Jesus is Lord. Trump is not. And so I don't even know how you can even raise those two at the same level. To me, it shows the level of faith that you're at. And this idea that, I even see in a lot of these comments and arguments with different people, it's like demonizing each other. Like, how can you call yourself a believer if you're voting for Kamala? Or how can you, how could you just this back and forth? And the people who are supposed to be the most solid-minded and have the most solid faith are falling apart emotionally the most. And it blows my mind because I'm like, do y'all not see that? Like, we continue to fail the world as believers because of being, this fear-driven belief. And I don't think it's everyone because, I've heard there's a lot of people who are solid, in their thinking in relation to their faith, and they're able to separate politics from their faith. Their faith is not driven by politics, but I feel like many people who faith is driven by politics is fear-based, and that's concerning. And I can get deeper into that, and trust me, I got the bandwidth to go very, very deep spiritually and back it up with scripture and go the whole 9, because I got that. All right. But that's not my interest, because this is my space of peace, and this is the innermost. And so I'm just kind of addressing what I see. At the end of the day, a candidate will be chosen. Somebody will be elected, and you have to live. And your faith has to be greater than your fear. And at the end of the day, you have, it shouldn't make or break your view on who God is or this world. Yes, we are in the end times. Yes, Jesus is coming back, all of these things. But to have this idea where you are not humble enough to realize that even in all your faith and all your belief and all your praying and all your believing and all your showing up to every service, that does not separate you from human error and human understanding, where God himself can still say you got it wrong. And I think that this is what I love so much about this doctorate program, is that for me, I feel like it's more of a spiritual experience than anything, because I tell you, I don't desire this in the way that this is for my livelihood. I'm good where I'm at. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I am okay where I am. I don't need this label to justify, solidify, or to open up doors for me in a way that I feel like it will make who I am as a person. I'm already good where I am. For me, this is more, it's a spiritual experience, because what it's teaching me is that a question is never a research, a question, an idea. It's never fully developed. That is always evolving, right? That you are not just coming. You're not the first to think of an idea of something, but that you are a contributor of an idea, or the evolution, or even the revolution of something. And so I see a lot of this mindset of I got the answer being promoted, especially on social media, especially in I can't speak for other religions. I see it mostly in mine. Maybe that's just the content that I see. I don't know. But in Christianity, it's like that this is the way to behave and to act and to see and to perceive and to communicate. And that is just not fulfilling, wholesome, or sustaining. I'll say it that way. And so it'll be interesting to watch whatever comes of this election, the reaction of human beings, because human behavior doesn't change, right? You have to be very solid not to succumb to the emotional riffraff of everything, and some people are just driven, by in an outrage, and all while waving flags and proclaiming their faith and their beliefs, offending one another. And you say, like, you have to offend and stand for something. You can stand for things and still be a solid human being. You can stand for something and stand for it respectfully. That takes a lot of discipline, and that takes a lot of understanding, and it takes a lot of open-mindedness, because how can the people who are voting and debating and saying what they want, at the end of the day, you're not at the table. You're not in the rooms making the decisions, and thank God you're not, because the emotions in the comment section and this cancel culture, like, these people have to communicate with people of different cultures, beliefs, countries, backgrounds, religions, and you are trying to stick everything in a box and have a one tunnel vision, one-way view of seeing things. And that's just not realistic if you're looking at the grand scheme of the world and life. And at the end of the day, why be fearful if you truly believe that the Lord is who he is? Because at the end of the day, everything is going to come to pass. It's all going to work out for his glory. So what is the argument? What are you driven by? Is it a way of you I wouldn't even want to say solidifying, but making yourself feel comfortable in your own thoughts, beliefs, and faith? Like, what really is that? I think the best thing that a person can do, it's like they say in the program, is that, you know, in undergrad and you know, when you're going for your master's and stuff, you get more of you get more of this feeling of validation when you turn in assignments, and, you know, you get good grades and credit. That the differences in the doctorate program is designed to criticize you, to critique you, to pull back, to ask more questions, to make you come to a solid understanding, to say, no, this ain't it, that this is not enough. And I feel like a lot of us need to do that in our faith. A lot of us are taking this way out of saying, you know, I'm checking the boxes, I'm doing this, and I'm doing a good job, get a good grade for my faith today, I voted for this, and this is in the Bible, and I got this many check marks, and I'm doing a good job, I got a good grade for that. It's deeper than that. And when you go deeper, your credentials go up, and you gotta go deeper. And, you know, some of the things that miracles and understandings and ideas and things that Jesus did wasn't even understood by the so-called believers. Let's get that right. The so-called believers looked at him and said, what are you doing? You know what I mean? You healing people on the Sabbath. Like, what are you doing? You breaking the rules. And he was God himself. So who are we to put our faith in a box and to condemn and say to other people, there is no way, right, that I couldn't do it? Because I know God to be too good, and I know him to be too well-rounded. And I know that even with him being on the cross, you know, that he still showed mercy and grace and shined on the unjust as well as those considered just. So be careful. Be careful with your emotions. Be very careful with your emotions. All right. With that being said, usually we go into the deeper parts and the later parts of the podcast, but that just kind of segued and came up. World Series, go LA Dodgers. They did it. You know, I didn't expect them to do it in New York. I thought that we was going to do it in LA. I'm glad they got it over with. I did not watch the game. I knew they were going to come back. I was watching the score on ESPN. It was just, you know, it was a cold, exhausting night. I think I wasn't feeling well, and I was just kind of keeping track with the score on ESPN website, and they had it playing outside. I was just kind of laying in the bed. And I remember looking at Bovada and seeing it was like plus 700 for the Dodgers to come back. And I was thinking in my mind, like, I need to place that bet because they going to come back and win it. And I'll be darned, they came back and win it. So congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers. You know, it takes, you know, and the Yankees for just making it there, and so many other organizations and teams that work so hard. It's so tough to be a champion. It's so tough to, you know, to come to that point where you have, you know, this solid and perfect season. Comes down to a real strong mentality and community and culture that's built in the locker room. I've never had that experience being a champion. But I can only imagine, and I learn a lot of life lessons by watching sports. That's why I love sports so much, because the mental fortitude that has to come from that. But I am a mother of 3 and a wife, and I feel like a lot of mental fortitude has to come from that as well. So, yeah, they won it, on October the 30th, I believe, and the next day was Halloween, so we didn't have to stress about that. And it was a very scary Halloween for me because I had to await my California TPA results for cycle 2. I have been out of my classroom this is going on the 3rd week. This is a district policy, but also a I believe it's also in California State, is that a substitute teacher cannot be in a class for more than 30 days. And my emergency permit had run up, and I had planned to have had my TPA results by the time it ran up so I can transition right into my contract so I could stay in my classroom. Of course, it's not a perfect world with perfect situations, so that didn't happen. I ended up getting a condition code, and in my condition code, they did not score my TPA. So I had to repay for and resubmit my TPA and wait another 4 weeks, which ended up landed me in a situation where I had to leave my classroom, and I was going to be subbing in another classroom, but opted out to just not, just to take the time off so that I can work on my catching up on stuff for my doctorate, and just providing some information and sub plans for my classroom until I got the results back. And just the results were scheduled to come back Halloween night. All right. How brutal is that? Now, they make you wait all these weeks, and then they don't even release the results until nighttime. So I sat out there passing out candy and staying busy and doing all this stuff, and I had to wait till Halloween night to get my results to figure out, was I still going to be employed as a teacher in my classroom with my students whom I miss so much. And the results came in about 8:28, and Halloween night, when the trick-or-treaters had started to no longer show up, and it said I passed. Actually, I was in the house, but then, I was sitting on the couch, and I was just kind of feeling anxious and tired and exhausted and just done. And I had resolved that whatever the results were, that I was going to be okay, and that God is good, and I trust the experience and the overall goal for my life. And the results came in, and I passed, and it's still taking me time to realize the magnitude of that. And so I text my principal, and she was excited, and my husband is excited, and it just was, I'm still processing it all, and what that means for us, for me, for my life, and for our family. And of course, it's still a waiting game. I had to contact the university. The university has to contact the state, and then I have to pay again and put in paperwork, and then that paperwork becomes available to the district, and the district has to submit it to the county. So I'm probably going to be out of work another 2 weeks. This is their process. I feel like it's not a process that puts the students first, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I'm grateful that at least I have a home to go to. As far as a job, a place that I can call home as far as my job goes once all this paperwork is done. So I'm very, very grateful for that. That is, it's something that's passed, but I also already have my classroom and everything waiting on me. And so that in itself is a blessing. It has just been a crazy experience, a very unorthodox, a very abnormal, and so to speak, as far as the way things are supposed to go when getting a California teaching credential. It's been very different, but when God is in control of your life, things happen in the way that they happen. They don't necessarily happen according to how everything in the world happens. So my process has been very different, and I'm grateful for it. So all in all, I am done with, and sometimes I'm like, what a crazy person to jump right back in school. I just finished, but also there's a part of me that's like, I'm so grateful that of over about 80 applicants, that I was one of the 17 to be to receive admission into my cohort. And so I'm grateful for that. And I hope to uphold my end of the commitment over the next couple of years. And when I think about that, I also think honestly about, this is like serving a mental sentence, but when I think about that, I'm like, you know, if I could just hang in there, I will find the worth in it in the end. And I'm trying to hold on to that thought. And this makes it so much better to have this pass. And because I'm telling you, thinking about this TPA was something that was night and day. Like, I will wake up out my sleep thinking about this. And it's crazy because they're actually trying to get rid of it. And so that's in itself. So anyway, got that done, passed in the books. Dodgers won the World Series. Tomorrow is election day. Tomorrow is also our oldest son's 16th birthday. We'll be celebrating it on Friday. We were thinking about celebrating it yesterday, but he chose to celebrate it on Friday, and we definitely did not want to celebrate it on election day. Poor kid. Election day has always stolen his thunder. And so honestly, there's a lot of fears with you know what communities will feel like and look like, in the animosity and the tension that will be out in the streets tomorrow on election day. So definitely be mindful, be peaceful, and be safe out there. Another big announcement is that the Magic Key passes are opening up and going on sale on November the 6th, which is on Wednesday. And so I have been planning to get one for the longest, and I just couldn't decide, you know, is it financially responsible? Is it worth it? How will we use it? All those different things. Our kids, they don't like to go anywhere. They love being at home. So then I was thinking, well, maybe it's something that me and my husband can have so that we can just use it on date night. Is it worth it? So many of the things, like I will, especially what's really cool about being a teacher is, you know, having those days off during the summer or different things where I don't really plan on going in the summer because I get overheated and I'll pass out. But just having free time, like on the weekends or, you know, in the fall or in the spring or things of that, like the freedom to just wake up and say, you know, it's a nice day for Disneyland, and just book Disneyland, even if we're just going to dinner or, you know, something of that nature. And the mom in me has that guilt of like, well, if I get us one, then why wouldn't I get the kids one? But honestly, you know, these kids, they really don't like to go. We bought tickets for Christmas to go to Disneyland, and I don't even think they're excited about it. I asked my son the other day, did he want to go to Disneyland? He's like, no, because he saw something on YouTube about all of these theories and scary the ideas and stories and stuff that he's like, I don't want to go. And I'm just like, dude, we didn't have stuff to ruin stuff like that for us back in the day. And so I don't know. It's November the 4th and I'm still undecided. I really like the idea of waking up and being like, hey babe, you want to just go hang out at California Adventure today, or you want to go to Disneyland? But of course, we have to consider that'll be a drive, you know. So I don't know. Something I'm still thinking about. Got to think about. That's it. Squishmallow partnered with Crocs over about a month ago, or maybe even more. And I finally took mine out the packaging and wore them. I love them so much. They're so cute. I love that the owner of Squishmallow went to my former school, Cal State Fullerton. And I actually had a coupon for 50% off for Crocs, and I ordered some more Squishmallow Crocs. So super excited about that. It is Monday, November the 4th. It is now 9:26 a.m. We've gone over a few things, but not all things. Moana 2 is coming out right before Thanksgiving. Super excited about that. I heard there's news for a new Toy Story coming out. Not sure how true that is. Tiana's Bayou is open at Disneyland. So much to enjoy, so much entertainment out there, so much to be grateful about if we're able to peel through and peel back the cloudiness of this election season and all the things that come with living and being of this world. But just like when I talked to my oldest brother today, everything takes balance. You can't have the good without the bad. You can't enjoy the ups without the downs. You can't have all sun and no rainy days. So appreciate it all. See life as a full, well-rounded journey and enjoy it from top to bottom. I appreciate you so much for choosing to spend some valuable time with me today. Thanks for hanging out with me as I address some of the thoughts and opinions that often only reside in the innermost. It's been a wonderful pleasure to host you. I look forward to receiving your stories and exchanging experiences in our community at the Innermost Podcast at Gmail or on Instagram at the Innermost Podcast. I hope you find enough motivation this Monday to carry you through the week. Take care and never abandon your innermost thoughts, opinions, and being. God bless.